Clemson Sports Talk on a Labor Day Monday. Thank you for hanging out with us here on the show. Lots to get to still, and appreciate William Qualkenbush for joining. So I did pose that question to him, and here was his response. He said, "I think the concerns would be the same." The question, if you're just tuning in, was, had Clemson had the pick six and won the game 10-3. How's everybody feeling at this point? And Qualk said that I think the concerns would be the same, but the framing would be different because you'd be talking about an undefeated season and a trip to the playoff. So I think the recent issue in some big games and the thought that you might have just cost yourself another playoff berth have led to a ton of criticism that would be more muted or more nuanced if it came after a win. And that kind of goes back to a question that we were asked during the break in the chat room from Preston. If you've never been part of the show, watch it on YouTube or Facebook or Twitter. We'd love to have you subscribe. Would love to have you subscribe on YouTube as we're trying to grow that channel, obviously. But there was a question from Preston who said, would Clemson be left out of the playoff if they went out? Is Clemson being left out of the playoff if they went out only a possibility if Georgia wins out and loses to Alabama? Again, I really think that it comes down to what else happens around the country. Like it's larger than just that game, but that is the one hurdle that I see still very much in front of Clemson. Is that now if Georgia, and they have a very favorable schedule, in my opinion, goes undefeated into the SEC championship and they get beat, as long as they don't get just blistered, but even if they did get blistered by Alabama, that's going to be the only thing that would be the saving grace for Clemson in that situation. Now, Georgia were to go to the SEC championship game and win it and beat Alabama by 10 points, 35-20, 31-21, they were to go and win it, then I think the argument between Clemson and Alabama probably is at that point might be a little bit easier for Clemson. Because the comments or the thought process would be, well, the Tigers just had that one mistake and Georgia controlled the game against Alabama, et cetera, at the end of the year. And Clemson would be the ACC champion and all that stuff kind of comes back into it. So there are multiple ways Clemson could still get in the college football playoff, and we have a long way to go. The Tigers could also lose 2 more games this year, and you just think about what bowl matchup you might get to go to. But I don't think anything happened on Saturday night, in my opinion, that just completely destroyed all hopes for Clemson to get into the college football playoff. It just became much more difficult because of the fact that I think Georgia's got a great chance to go undefeated. I don't know that Georgia is going to have 2 losses. And you got to have somebody get out of your way. You got to have Ohio State or Oklahoma or Georgia or Alabama. Somebody's got to get out of the way. But all Clemson can do is go play every game they got remaining. Just go get after it. 803-450-0086, 803-450-0086, text line, phone line. We have not gotten into the stats of the game. They weren't great. William Qualkenbush brought some of them up, but Clemson rushed had just 23 attempts and rushed for just 2 yards in the ball game. DJ Uiagalelei rushed for 14 attempts for minus 22 total yards in the ball game. And again, the situation there at running back with Lin J being out, he had 1 carry. for 10 yards in the fourth quarter. Will Shipley just 4 carries for 7 yards. Clemson got the ball to Shipley one time out of the backfield. I thought he had to have a big ball game. Well, not necessarily a big ball game, but I did say if he had, 120 and 2 touchdowns, Clemson would win. Heck, if Will Shipley would have had 1 touchdown, maybe Clemson wins that game. If the Tigers just have a touchdown, it's a completely different affair. The good bright spot, I think, was Joe Ngata. Joe Ngata, a kid that was banged up all last season, has been banged up during fall camp. Joseph Ngata, 6 receptions, 110 yards. Finally looked like the prospect that I think Clemson fans hoped he would be. And with the news that we told you earlier about E.J. Williams being out, it definitely makes you feel better having Justin Ross and Ngata out there for your Tigers, along with Frank Ladson, and ultimately they want to get Bo Collins more involved as well. The interception, though, one thing that was kind of a common misconception was that was DJ's fault. Really, that came down to Justin Ross, and you heard Dabo Swanny after the game talking about it. Even watching it, I felt like Ross didn't complete his route. It was an option route. He had a choice of what he was going to do. He's really supposed to kind of settle down there and shield off the defender on the backside. If he gets hit, maybe it's a pass interference. Maybe it's an incomplete pass. But if he feels like he can break off of that route and option into a slant, he can. But as Dabo Swanny said, he has to cross the face of the defender. He has to cross the face of the defender, and he didn't. He was not as aggressive as you have to be. And thus, what ended up happening was the Georgia defender stepped in front, and DJ gave chase. Had a heck of a chance, laid it out there, but Christopher Smith, 74-yard interception return, was the only touchdown, and was the margin of the final margin of the ball game. But that wasn't really on DJ. That play came down to Justin Ross, and Ross not completing his route when he chose to go into the slant. Stay with us for more of the show that shakes the Southland.
Our iconic iHeartRadio Music Festival is finally back.